Morning, everyone, and welcome to the scoreboard. I don't know what to say on a day where Ashwin managed to outfield the entire New Zealand team. The ball ragged, and we saw a carrom ball spin as much as anything else. But it is worth remembering that this day started with Shubman Gill playing what might end up being the most important innings on this pitch, and he didn't even do it in the third innings. They still had plenty of chances, though, India, to put New Zealand away, or at the very least, get themselves into a position where they couldn't lose. And they just refused to ever get themselves that far ahead. It's a very odd one. But New Zealand certainly gave India some chances. Their Ratcham Ravindra wicket is playing rent-free in my mind. Before Will Young and Mitchell reunited again, and this time put together a very, very decent partnership, got themselves back in front in the game for a little while before that Ashwin catch. Then we had Glenn Phillips finally looking like the Glenn Phillips that everyone has expected before he faced the carrom ball of doom. 140-ish looks like the total, but who knows? Because tomorrow we're very, very lucky to see the real reason that Will O'Rourke plays Test cricket, his batting. And he's going to be batting for a long period of time, knowing Will O'Rourke. He will be adding upwards of 1, maybe 2 runs to that total.
I have a book out with Abhishek Mukherjee, and it is called Overthrowing Cricket's Empire. And it's about the stories of how each team beat England for the first time. We go all the way back to the demon Fred Spofforth getting annoyed at W.G. Grace for acting a little bit like Alex Carey. And then we come all the way to present times with Rashid Khan's England's redemption. We cover every single team to beat England in a major international, but we also talk about the incredible stories, like the barefoot basher from Fiji that almost played for New Zealand. In fact, this book is full of tales like that, like how Pakistan lost a top batter after he was on the run from an angry husband of a movie star he was having an affair with, and also how one future captain of his nation realised he might have to go out and bat at Lords and that he didn't own his own pads. Cricket was used as a tool by the Empire, but what happens when those nations grow up and get good at it? Find Overthrowing Cricket's Empire on Amazon today.
All right, remember you can like, subscribe, put a comment in, all these things. And if you're desperate to talk about something, Super Chat's always the way to go. We've got quite a few graphics though today. This is the wickets by session today. It's interesting to me that morning session, even though I didn't think New Zealand always bowled well, it just felt very throwdowny and very comfortable. I'd say it's probably the best session of the game we've seen. I mean, we've only seen 6, but I thought it was the best session of the game to score runs in. The ball just seemed to come onto the bat a little bit, and then the more the sun hits this wicket, the harder it seems to be to bat so far. And I am pleased to announce that we have another end. For the second test match in a row, there is a good end and there is a bad end. It was noticeable watching Ajaz Patel, I suppose, in that in India's innings, just how much at one end the ball seemed to be doing everything, and the other end, Glenn Phillips was almost bowling like a T20 bowler. So it was very, very different from those two ends, and we've certainly seen that so far in the game. And we can see here that, again, as the pitch gets more and more sunlight on it, we're just getting more grip all the way through, and we expect that to go on. So we would expect that India's final innings will be even slightly higher again. It's incredible how much this wicket has got consistently harder to bat on. I think that's what this graph shows you as much as anything. And this is how much, this is basically COF, it's grip. We should call it the gripometer. Gripometer? Gripometer. I'll be thinking about that for a while. But this just shows you just how much we have seen here. So it's really high level of grip that we have seen all the way through, right up there with the indoor pitch, which of course, that was a fun pitch, and Hyderabad in 2024, which was, I suppose, also another fun pitch from that perspective as well. So some interesting ones. When it's certainly a slightly different kind of wicket as well. Median degree of turn by match. So the last one is more grip. This one is actually just the degrees of turn. And you can see that, weirdly enough, this has got the most turn of any Indian wicket in the last couple of years. And usually what happens with Indian wickets is we get one of these ones early on, or we get it at an important part of the series and everyone cries. I'm not sure if people are quite as upset with this, because we saw the Bengaluru pitch and then we had Pune. Those were quite different kinds of Indian wickets all the way through. Here is the pitch maps. see that when you put a wrist spinner into these, it doesn't look very good. But you can also see the difference of Glenn Phillips between being a frontline bowler and being a part-timer. I thought he did a good job, especially towards the end of that first session. But you can see just how different that is to, say, someone like Ajaz Patel, who's just going to land the ball where he wants. This is his footmarks bowling out here, and this is when he's bowling to left-handers. Ishodi's is wild, though. I love that. And speed distribution. Well, you'd expect the wrist spinner to be the slowest. You can see him at about, what, just under 82 kilometers per hour. We've got the rest of the New Zealand spinners have varied a little bit. Even Ratchin, I wouldn't say he bowled particularly slow, but you can see here that Ajaz Patel has gone from, what, about 92 till 79. And Glenn Phillips has tried to mix his up again. This is Ajaz Patel's length versus bounce. So you can see here there's quite a few balls that when you have bowled around that 5.5 meter mark that haven't bounced all that much. I think he probably got the most variable bounce. So instead of a tall bowler getting variable bounce, it's perhaps the shorter bowler that has managed to do it. And you can see here some of the two of his wickets have actually come from, so these are all on the same length. One of them bounces 60 centimeters. And the other two go double that at, almost 120 centimeters. So that's a big, big jump there. We see Shubman Gill, as I said before, it didn't make runs in the third innings. So that's awesome. Look, I just thought he looked the way that we kind of expect Shubman Gill to look. Completely on top of it, knowing what he was doing. Really good knock from him, all things considered. Tough wicket. He's a class player. I know there are a lot of people who've sort of given up on him. Other thing I'd say about Shubman Gill is, he's much more of an areas batter. Just have a look. I know some of this, sometimes Wagon Wheel is dominated by the field, but really from what's that, cover point through to mid-off, he hits a lot of balls in that area. And then he's got sort of a similar one from backward square leg to square leg, and then obviously loves mid-on as well. But very little is fine, and he doesn't really play backward of point or even square of point. When he's looking for runs. That might be partly to do with this wicket, but that's good batting. I think that shows really good control from him. Not as good control from me, he pressed the wrong button. His cumulative average so far, so it's still below 40 at the moment. I would be incredibly shocked if he finishes his test career with an average of under 40. If he even, it should be over 42 at least, and I think he should be aiming for way higher than that. He's incredible talent, and I know a lot of people, the problem with Indian cricket now is if you're not successful in 12 seconds, I mean, you could say this is the problem with life, but maybe it's more so Indian cricket. If you're not successful in 12 seconds, you're a bust, and we're already seeing that with Sarfaraz. God. I think we have seen that there's been enough of an uptick. He got his average down to 29, and we're at, what, 37.5 at the moment. Rishabh Pant, what a fantastic innings this was when you consider no one else has really been able to, stay in all that long, and he scored at an incredible rate. He took on the spinners when he needed to. I thought, in the end, that little, because that was probably the only time it was easy for India to bat on. And that period really helped them get on top of the game. And it's why they ended up with a small lead. And it was only, an hour maybe, when the pitch seemed to just be better to bat on. And during that hour, he made so many runs, that it changed the game a little bit. He ended up getting a ball that didn't even hit the foot marks, or didn't appear to hit the foot marks, and yet ragged on him and then kept a little bit low to get rid of him. This is Rishabh Pant in tests in Asia. So he's averaged 54.5 in those matches. The Indian top order has averaged 35.9. Just a reminder, he averages 54.5. And the opposition has averaged 25.7. That's pretty good. This is the spin by the New Zealand bowlers. The thing I'm probably most surprised at is that the leg spinner didn't get more spin. Although, it's not that Ishodi is a huge spinner of the ball, but we can see here Ajaz was really starting to rag that ball quite a lot. Some of those are 7, 8 degrees. That's big spin. We consider 5 degrees ragging, and you can see here with Phillips, he has a couple of overs that are just above 5, and you can't. We're talking about 7.66 and 8, and that's the median, right? That's big spin. And Henry, I just showed this as much as anything to point out that O'Rourke didn't actually bowl. He's in the side for batting. Will Young's batting here. Again, you can see very similar pattern to Shubman Gill. In some ways, I think there's an element of their batting is quite similar. Very upright players, probably don't prefer the ball coming back into them. Maybe more so off seam than spin, but in Will Young's case, maybe spin as well. And they've got the areas that they like to score. They're certainly sort of down the ground plays is probably where you would expect them the most. And then we've got the pitch maps here. I thought India bowled okay. If I was going to complain at all, I just think on a pitch like this, you can kind of afford to bowl short because the ball's going to spin so far and sometimes it will keep very low. And I just thought that Ashwin, I know Sundar does it naturally, but I just thought that Ashwin and Jadeja just bowled too many full balls. I thought the worst spell actually was when Glenn Phillips came in because he's been dreadful in this series, right? Like he's really, really struggled to bat. And he came in and the first ball was a half volley and I thought to myself, oh, that's a bit of a mistake to Glenn Phillips, but the way he's been batting, it may not matter. The second ball was a half tracker. He faced two more half volleys and he got another half tracker that he couldn't get away. And so then he started hitting off length. And realistically, it took something very, very special to get rid of him, which we will show in a moment. And this is just the amount of spin that we saw. So we could see here, we got, what's the biggest over? Is it Ashwin? So we had a question yesterday about whether Ashwin wasn't spinning the ball enough. And then we've got him spinning it at a median degree of 6.86. Is that his biggest over? We've got another one at 6.76. So him spinning the ball a long way wasn't an issue. Jadeja went even a degree further out there. And the three probabilities, we have certainly seen an effort by the Indians to slow the ball down when they need to, which they weren't doing early on. I really want to show you Ashwin to Phillips. And this graphic doesn't quite show it the way we want, but we've got another couple of graphics to show it as well. But I want to point out that this over here is the ball as it was would have gone on if it was straight. So this is a Karen ball. So it's not like it's the same sort of angle from a left arm finger spinner. And then it is spun back and it is hit middle and off. But that was going to miss leg stump and spun back and was incredible. But the black dots are the ball before. This is where the ball would have gone the ball before if it was straight. And it ended up an absolute mile down leg side. So these are the two balls where they would have gone. You can see one was hitting just the outside of middle stump, so middle and off. The other one was hitting the outside of leg stump here. There's not much difference in terms of centimeters between where these balls were aimed. One hits off stump and one misses leg stump by, I don't know, a meter. That happened back to back. That was a 14-degree swing. So this is the ball that Ashwin bowled first, that spun 8 degrees into the batter, or in this case away from the batter, but into the batter. And this is the ball that pitched on leg stump and hit off stump that spun 6 degrees back the other way. So within the space of 2 deliveries, he had one ball ragging one direction and then one ball ragging the other. And also 6 degrees on a Karen ball. And he actually went above this. I don't know if it was Will Young wicket or one of the other Karen balls he bowled, actually spun even more than 6 degrees, which for a Karen ball is impossible. And just to show you, just how ridiculous this all is, the difference between those two of where they ended up and where they were pitched and everything else. That's kind of what it looks like if you're from that direction. Yeah, and here we have the 4 Karen balls that he bowled, and you can see here, this one over here almost spun 8 degrees, but even his normal ones were spinning around almost 6 degrees every time. And then he had some balls, Ashwin, that were spinning 10 degrees the other direction. So today, Ashwin spun a ball 8 degrees in one direction and about 11 degrees in the other direction. So essentially an 18.5-degree swing he had between some of his deliveries. And it was only yesterday we were asked if he wasn't spinning the ball anymore. I don't know if I've ever seen this off a non-rest spinner before. Karen balls usually just don't spin like this. So incredible bowling. And in the middle of that, he was getting whacked for 6 by Glenn Phillips as well. Akashdeep came around the wicket. Actually, we'll talk about him a little bit more here. He now has 10 wickets, 8 of which against left-handers and 2 against right-handers. All of those 8 are from around the wicket. So if you just come back here, it's this cluster here. He's absolutely brilliant when he's bowling around the wicket to left-handers at the moment. Almost got Latham out LBW and then followed it up by castling his stumps as well. And this is just the, as I said, cough is gripometer. Someone in our group said the Hock Tour metric, which I suppose only works if you followed social media for a while, a couple of months ago. But this is just how much the ball has been gripped, depending on, sorry, this is the average by speed. And you can see here that when you have bowled really slow, the wicket hasn't done much for you. But 81 to 85, been averaging 18. And then again, so this is essentially the Ajaz speed, the best way of looking at it. And this is the Jadeja speed. So those have been the 2 most successful. So it doesn't mean that you can't bowl a little bit slower. This is quite slow for a modern spinner. And this is incredibly fast for a modern spinner. And that's the end of the scoreboard part of the show. If you want to ask any questions or anything like that, best way to do that is, of course, via comments. We'll take a quick break, and then when we'll be back, we'll get to your comments in the group. This is Jared Kimber, Good Areas Live. This show is called Scoreboard. Thanks to MP Play, I was able to make this. Their advanced technology can help any cricket team elevate their skills and performance.
If you have a passion for sports and aspire to work in the industry, I invite you to explore my course, Fans with Laptops. This program is designed to equip you with the knowledge and skills necessary to excel in sports journalism. Fans with Laptops is a test match course tailored to the digestible T20 world. Embrace your nerdish obsession for sports and unlock your potential by enrolling in Fans with Laptops. Celebrate your cricket heroes with Bodyline t-shirts. Explore their player-inspired tees, featuring legends like Sachin Tendulkar, Brian Lara and Viv Richards. They also have team-inspired designs and options for hardcore cricket nerds. Their collection is a must-have for the true cricket enthusiast.
All right, Kaushal says, should Washi bat higher than at what position? No, I think, well, I mean, he's scheduled about 8 in this game, and he's actually batted 9 because he came in ahead of Ashwin. I think he'll come in ahead of Ashwin, more often than not. I'm not sure how many more tests they'll play together or what Ashwin's future is, obviously, but I do think that will happen. But at the moment, I don't think he's a better batter than Jadeja, so him batting number 8 is fine. They might also, so that's a good place to start. I think he's probably a number 6 or a number 7. I think in some ways, I think Jadeja's a near perfect defensive number 7. Which is such a weird phrase, but it's the way my brain works. Whereas I think it's so hard to get through him, and he can bat at number 7. You probably don't want him too far up the order because he doesn't quite bat like a normal batter. That's why he doesn't get, he's not going to score hundreds, but he's going to score 50s. And at number 7 against a softball, he's almost perfect for that. Whereas I think Washington has the ability to bat at 6. I don't think, I can't see any reason to ever bat him in the top 5 unless there's a matchup or you might want to send him in to hit one day, because you're always going to have 5 batters who are more talented than Washington Sundar around. But at 6, he gives you the flexibility. And, now they currently have a wicketkeeper as well who can bat at 5, which gives them incredible flexibility for their lineups. So if he can bat as high as 6, that's absolutely great. Perhaps allows them to bring in another younger player, maybe someone like Nitish Kumar, Reddy, that sort of player to bat at number 7. And I'm talking about in a couple of years' time, or another player of that kind of ability, and you say to that guy, well, you don't, we need a little bit of your batting and we need a little bit of your bowling, but we don't need that much, but we want you to get ready. But they could also then bat Washington at 7 when Jadeja finally moves on, and they could have a specialist bat at number 6, which allows them to pick an attacking player. I mean, Sky will be finished by that, but if you had a player like Sky, that sort of Andrew Simons type batter at 6 in this side, so you've got Rishabh Pant at 5, You've got Washington Sundar at 7. I think that's pretty cool. Milland says, is there a way for New Zealand here? Oh yeah, I still think New Zealand can win this. The odds are ridiculous. I think New Zealand are about 15 to 1, depending on where you find them. You can back India for 1.08. It was funny. I was commentating with Ian O'Brien on TalkSport today, and he was saying that he thought 130 might be defendable on this wicket. The problem is that New Zealand don't quite have the bowlers to defend 130 on this wicket. So you have part-timers who bowl full tosses and half-trackers and, are going to struggle a little bit there. So realistically, it's not quite the attack that you want. And I also think there's some bias due, just because I think the pitch will keep low and everything else. So I think that New Zealand bowlers will cough up 30 to 35 runs. And then you've also got the Jaiswal-Rohit factor of if they hit a couple of boundaries off the new ball, that's going to knock it all off. But New Zealand could win this game. I would say that they should probably be more close to 8 or 10 to 1. I can see a chance of them winning maybe 1 out of 10 at the moment, but they're also not out yet. And, another 10 or 15 runs, although Willow Rourke, not due for a lot of runs, but if they get another 10 or 15 runs and they manage to whip out 1 or 2 early wickets, they're a chance of doing this, but obviously India, the heavy favourites at this point. I think that's fair. Rahul says, Sarfaraz is supposed to be very good against spin, but he's yet to make runs when the ball is turning. Does he have a technical issue against spin? Well, he's not yet to make runs against when the ball is turning. He's made runs against the ball and turning on other wickets before. We've got to stop jumping to incredible conclusions based on, I just don't think he's seen the ball particularly well at the moment. I don't think he's in great form. I think his mind's a little bit muddled, and he hasn't made runs. We have seen him made runs when the ball is turning before, and we've seen him make runs against spinners before, so I'm not particularly worried about that at all. I'd be more worried about just his general form and confidence at the moment. I see a lot of people have seemed to have turned on him already. This is why I feel sorry for Indian cricketers than anywhere else. I suppose this is what the money's for, right? Sheffield In says, Ashwin and Jadeja just depend on the pitch to bowl. Well, Ajaz is better than both. Ajaz is not better than them. Ajaz wouldn't think he's better than them. Ajaz has been, if you want to, this is why you come to a channel like this, go back and have a look at the pitch maps I've been showing for all these test matches so far. Ajaz really struggles with line of length in a way that Ashwin and Jadeja do not. They both bowl 10 kilometers quicker than him. They both spin the ball more than him. So they're more accurate. They spin the ball more than him to start with. They have, in Ashwin's case, about 20 extra tricks that Ajaz doesn't have. The ability to, bowl from different parts on the field and everywhere, different parts on the wicket consistently. They're both taller, so they have that extra skill over Ajaz Patel as well. Ajaz Patel would possibly not even be playing in this test match if Mitch Santner was there. He was really struggling coming in. He's bowled poor. Ashwin and Jadeja have definitely bowled better than Ajaz Patel has in this series so far. There's not a single metric that I could tell you that, and certainly the eye test suggests that as well. Rahul says, Akash Deep bowls from around the wicket. Khawaja prefers this angle. Yeah, I thought this was an interesting one. I don't think that's an issue because you also, and this is obviously throwing it ahead to the next series, but you also have Jasprit Bumrah who likes to bowl over the wicket. So there'll always be someone bowling over the wicket to him. I think Siraj likes bowling over the wicket as well. So India's going to have multiple options. Khawaja's not been in great form unless I missed some runs that he's made very recently. It's interesting, a lot of Australia worrying about the secondary opening position, but I had a feeling that Usman Khawaja was struggling. I actually spelt that out in my head while I was writing it. I've never done that before. There we go. Yeah, I had a feeling that Khawaja's form had just dipped recently. Let's see where we are. Can't even find his numbers now. Yeah, so he's played 5 matches this year and averaging 30. So he had that huge period. But we see this a lot with Khawaja. He goes feast, then he goes famine. So it'll be really interesting to see if he can pull that back because they're going to need a opener, right? Conrad McBad. Never thought I'd ask this, but how badly are New Zealand missing Mitch Santner? Having an accurate economic bowler would make me much less nervous about defending a low total. Yeah, I thought there were times when they had to keep Ajaz Patel on today. when they just didn't feel comfortable with it. I even last night, I thought there were times where I was like, they've got to get him out of the attack. He ended up taking the wickets. So AJ Patel's best ball is fantastic. He's just not quite accurate enough. And Mitch Santner is currently bowling better than him. If you had Bracewell, Santner, and let's say they went with either Sodhi or Phillips or Ajaz, whichever, however they sort of filled out their full bowling lineup there, I think the 140 odd seems a lot more defendable. The problem with Ajaz is his best ball can get out any Indian batter, but he's going to give him some half volleys, and he's going to overpitch quite a bit, and occasionally he's going to lose his line down leg stump as well. He's not as confident against left-handers. That's not rare. Like Jadeja's rare that he bowls well to left-handers, but Ajaz doesn't seem to have a plan specifically for left-handers. I thought he bowled very well to, I think, Washington, but with everyone else he didn't. So yeah, I think it is an issue. Mitch Santner bowled great last test. There's nothing in this wicket that makes me think he wouldn't have bowled well here. It's actually a real shame, because it would have been great to see if that last wicket just suited him, or if he has turned a corner and he doesn't get a chance to cash in. And, he's a cricketer I really, really respect. So it's I think it's really upsetting for me that he doesn't get a chance to prove his worth or otherwise on this wicket. The Best of Cricket says, how do you already have these graphics available? This is amazing. Well, mostly because Varun and Cheyenne make them and not me. So I'm commentating all day. So I suppose on days, traditionally, I think I, in the old days, used to make it, and then maybe Muku would help me. I think the first time we did Scoreboard, when it was called the Mood Board, Charlie Reynolds actually helped us make them as well when he was working for us. So yeah, we're putting together ideas through the day, right, of things that matter and everything else. And we're pretty good at doing stuff quickly now. We have to turn videos around quite fast. So, it's just a skill that we have. But thank you very much, Best of Cricket. It's Best of Cricket. Is that the guy who runs the Substack, by the way? If it's not, there is a Substack called Best of Cricket, which you all should be following, which is like the Huffington Post of cricket, which is something I pitched to major companies about 15 years ago and 10 years ago, and they never did. Soham says, what made you move to the UK? Just work. Yes, just work. I was a filmmaker in Melbourne, and we had a little bit of work, but it wasn't enough to really sustain what I was doing. A few ads, a few music videos, instructional videos, weddings, all that sort of stuff. Some cool creative stuff, some not cool, not creative stuff. And on the side, I started Cricket with Balls, and Cricket with Balls became the quickest blog, the biggest blog in the world in like a heartbeat. It was just so phenomenal how quickly it grew. And I started getting offered work, and I tried to get a career as a cricket writer in Australia on the back of it, but it just didn't. It was probably wrong time of the year in Australia when I was trying to see if there was any work. It was during football season, so there wasn't much around. But there didn't appear to be, outside of Cricket Info journalists, any jobs for cricket writers in Australia. So I was being offered work in the UK, so I moved to the UK, and I've found work here ever since, thankfully. Is that Varun's way of telling? See, he leaves starred ones there, and it always scares me a little bit that we might be missing them. But no, they're done. We've done all the questions. Thank you very much to everyone. We won't put a video up on the site today because obviously the test is probably going to finish one way or another tomorrow. So we'll probably do a look back on the series. We've got an Ashwin Jadeja video. We've got somebody else on spin bowling coming up as well that we might pop out very soon. But we'll be back for Scoreboard as well tomorrow. It will probably be a lot earlier, though, is my guess. And it will, if New Zealand win, it'll be a hell of a win. But most likely from here, it looks like an Indian win. Anyway, I'm Jared Kimber. This is a Scoreboard. We go live on Good Areas like all the time. And we have another channel, and we have goodareas.co. There's many different ways to find us. You can support us on Patreon. All of these things are possible. But we'll see you again very, very soon. As a cricket journalist, I would travel sometimes up to 200 days a year. I loved watching cricket games. I loved going to new countries. It was an absolute dream. But there was one thing I hated more than anything else about it, and it was this little PIN. The thing that I need to change my SIM card in every new country. The absolute worst thing about this PIN and SIM cards is when I was traveling to the West Indies, of having to arrive in every new island or country and having to work out if I could still find this PIN and then line up and get my SIM card in every single airport. Well, now we have the answer thanks to Sally. They can make it so you never have to worry about this nonsense ever again. They use an eSIM app that once you install once, it is easy, simple, and cheap. Oh, and it works in more than 160 countries. And you can throw these pins away forever because now you just need to download the Sally app before your trip. And if you do it with our code, Good Areas, you get an exclusive 15% discount on Sally eSIM data plans. So before your next holiday or work trip or any time you have to travel to another country, download the Sally app and use the code Good Areas, all one word, at checkout, and you can travel like a pro with Sally.